Hi, welcome to Quirky Queen's Journals. My name's Kirsten. So today we are doing 10-step approach to making a junk journal cover using mixed media. So this is more of a, I suppose it's more of making a unique cover. So I have used an old book page that's quite sturdy as a base. Now, this is a double page spread from like a textbook. I sell second-hand books on eBay, so a lot of the big textbooks, the information's outdated, so it would cost more to post it than somebody would pay for it. So I keep these books to use because the book pages are so sturdy. Now, with the book pages I'm using a variety of colours. So there's different ages, there's different publishers, and there's also different marks on the pages. I've also added in some neutral colours from jelly prints that I've done in book pages in there, but kept them very much browns and blacks. Oh, and there's an IKEA instruction booklet in there too. AA highway code books, not highway code, like breakdown cover books, handbooks, that's the word. They are brilliant. They yellow very fast. The paper is very thin and kind of crispy almost, and they are brilliant for collage. Weight-wise, I've kept the papers fairly thin. I've chosen ones that aren't too bulky. Although they obviously using like different publishers, etc. The paper, there will be slight differences in the weight of the paper, but nothing too much. And these slight differences will, enhance texture. Now that is matte medium that I'm using just to seal them all in. So just adding in some line work here, and what will happen at the end is you will only see flashes of this coming through. Now that is a China pencil, and I also use an inktense block, which is water soluble. The first time it's touched with water, it will, turn into watercolour. But after that, it's permanent. So I am going to collage some napkin pieces, but not yet. What I'm doing is I'm going to tear it into pieces just now. So this was 3-ply. I've took off the 2 base layers and I've just kept the top layer with the pattern. And I'm ripping it into the pieces just using a wet paintbrush. And the reason I'm doing it just now is just to give it a chance to dry out. It's a bit sturdier once it's dried out. So next I'm going to do the stencils, and I'm going to use pan pastels. But you could use paint here. You could use, chalk pastels, crayons, anything at all. This is like a background layer we're making just now. So all this will not be as striking as it is just now. So I have kept my colours fairly neutral here because I am going to do a kind of yellowy. Overall, the colour scheme is going to be quite a yellow one. So that's the colours I've chosen underneath. But you could do any colours. You just do what you want. And I've chosen fairly neutral shaped stencils as well. Although when I do the other side, I don't. I use big flower ones. And you don't even need to use stencils here. You could just put on your own shapes, your own line work, whatever you wanted. It's really just to create interest. This is what we're doing just now. We're giving depth to the cover so that it's more pleasurable to look at, and people will admire it. So I'm adding in the napkin pieces now. So this is going to be a cover. So to start with, I am, I'm creating the whole picture just now, but towards the end of putting them on, I will check each side sort of for the composition. As you can see here, it turned out this was very empty at the bottom. The other thing I should have mentioned at step 1 was when I was putting the collage pieces down on the spine of the book, I used pieces from the more modern book pages and I kept them quite big so that they reached quite far over both sides. Now, this thin layer of gesso, it does dry a bit lighter than it looks. I maybe put it on a bit thicker than I intended, but that's okay. This is really just to, we're pushing this into the background and we're creating depth doing this. That was a bit of tissue paper that had clumped together, so I was just taking that off. And again, we're just going to do some stencil work again. Now, I'm using the same stencils because I want them to match in with what is below. However, you don't need to do that. You just do what you want, because at the end of the day, it's your cover and things don't need to match. So I'm using yellow ochre and Naples Yellow Deep paint here. And it's really lovely. And what I do when I'm using the stencil as well is I kind of choose a centre point and then I fade out from that, which is what gives this graduated look, where it's difficult to see where the stencil shape began and where it ends. It's just more interesting to look at. Oh, and leaves. I do the leaves as well. I'm actually using a mixture of the yellow ochre and the deep Naples yellow. And these are acrylic paints as well. So, I'm really happy with how this looks. You would not create, if we just did the stencils without having all that underneath, it wouldn't look the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat it on the inside. I did think about sticking papers down, but I thought let's just do it. When you repeat it on the other side as well, it helps the paper stay, it's less likely to buckle because you've got the same on each side. So it's sturdy on both sides. And this time I'm using brown paper with some red and pink marks. I think this was a paper that was underneath, when I've been painting because of the straight lines. And then just some more of the book pages. This is really just a repetition of what we've done before, and I've made this video much shorter. Not this video, this section. Now, IKEA booklets are wonderful for font. There's something about their font that just, I don't know what it is. There's something about it that is just so interesting to look at. And again, I've used the same book pages, the same jelly print pieces. So some parts of it, I've made it similar to the other side and other parts have not. And I'm just sealing all that with a layer of matte medium. And again, just adding in the napkin pieces. I do choose a red theme for this one. You'll see it. And the spine, there's a bit of paper I've put on and it's sitting over the spine. So when I fold this page over, the corner of it sticks out and I have to keep making sure that it's glued down more. So, that is something to watch out for. Make sure your pieces go much further over. We got it in the end though. Do you know what? I considered leaving it like that because I just think it's the brown paper and amongst the book pages, it just was gorgeous to look at. So these are mandala stencils. I've put the paint on a bit thick on the first one in the top left hand corner, and when the paint's a bit too thick, then it smudges. You lose clarity of the stencil shape that you're making. This is my favourite mandala stencil. And then we're just going to go in with the red after this. Alizarin red, that's the colour that I use. It's a beautiful red. It's almost pinky. This makes me think of like, oh, I don't know, like a newspaper. Even though there's no newspaper on it, that's what this makes me think of. I should add in that I do let every layer dry before I move on to the next layer. So once I've done the collage with the matte medium, you know, that dries before I went in with the dry media. Obviously that didn't need to dry. But you know, when I'm doing the stencils with the paint, I am drying it mostly. Here, I've made a bit of an error and I've went in with the gesso while the red was still a bit wet. So I've smudged it a bit. It's fine, it works out in the end. It just gives it a different look and it makes the red a bit more dominant on the page than I had intended. But removing it with that paper, the excess, has actually created an interesting area. So everything is repairable. So I am sealing with Mod Podge. Again, you could use, you don't even need to seal it. I just like the feel of it when it's sealed. Now you could just use like stamping ink round the side, a crayon, anything at all. Some people like watercolour pencils and then just add a bit of water to it. I am using my China pencil because I'm also using it to feel if there's any little bits of collage or napkin just hanging over. And I find the pencil's quite good at identifying that. And also the China pencil is permanent, so it won't be disturbed by anything else. It doesn't blend though, so you don't get a blended look. So this was part 1 of a series of videos I'm going to do in junk journals, and this is just a wee teaser of what's to come. That's an envelope that I've made and I'm just going round the edges. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you'll tune in for part 2 and I hope to see you soon and take care. Bye.